Good afternoon. Welcome to the Hamilton County Commission staff meeting, January 9th, 2024. And I'm going to ask everybody on the dais to introduce themselves.
Chrissy Rischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summerall Dumas, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. I'm County Commissioner Denise Driehaus.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
Charlie Ennis, Prosecutor's Office.
And I'm Hamilton County Commission President Alicia Reese. We want to thank everyone for coming, and we're going to get right to it. Item number 1 is a community reinvestment area application for Ackerman Group. And Harry, are you going to be coming up? Okay. Harry
Yes.
Blanton, Hamilton County Economic Development Office, powered by Alloy.
You got it. Thank you, Commissioner Reese. Yes, Harry Blanton, and we are here today for a project with a CRA in Sims Township. Ackerman Group, as you mentioned, is the developer. And with me today is John Wendt, who is a CFO with Ackerman. We will both be available for questions now and after I present. Also with us is Kim LaPensi, who's the administrator for Sims Township, and then Michael Whidden, our staff who worked on this agreement. So before you today is this CRA agreement with Ackerman on a project in Sims Township. It is, if you're familiar with Governor's Hill, it's a large office complex. But as we've seen over the years recently, with the change in work to hybrid and problems with revenue collection in cities, a lot of offices are being converted to residential. Not a lot, but some. It's happening across the country. So Ackerman is proposing a conversion of an office building in Governor's Hill to a 205 units apartment. It's a multifamily property. This is a true mixed-use site now because it has retail, office, and now residential. I think it would be good for me to put on my glasses. The development is planned around the concept of health, environment, and community. Sorry, I should be clicking this. So the project will make sure that they're sensitive to unnecessary waste, efficient water consumption, and energy use. As you can see up on the screen here, it's the office building is at the back of the property, so it's surrounded by trees, so it's a nice environment for a residential complex. They're going to be investing $36 million. That's the total investment. It will create 250 full-time construction jobs during the construction phase, and then 5 full-time positions when it's operational as a residential property. Alloy Economic Development Office is proposing a tax abatement of 50% for 8 years. The township has already passed a resolution in support of the incentive, and Ackerman Group considers strongly that this incentive is needed to make the project work. That's my quick presentation. I'm going to invite John Wendt to come up and give his comments, and then we'll be happy to entertain your questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm John Wendt with the Ackerman Group. I appreciate your patience today in going through this. I've not gone through a CRA before, so if I butcher anything, my apologies in advance. We look at this development as a really good adaptive reuse. What was going to be a vacant office building is now going to be reused in something different. As you can see a little bit from what Harry put up there, the use of parking in outside structures dramatically decreases, and we can add in softening landscape to really improve the environment there. By replacing a lot of the environmental controls within the building, a preliminary engineering report has our energy savings at about 25% compared to what if you built new today. So it's a substantial environment there from where we would have been. We've had good local support from Sims Township, the local schools who we spent time with as well, and overall this is an increase in the overall tax base to the city. You wonder, why do we need the abatement here with this, or the CRA, if I'm using the correct words with that? And that is, today's environment of just increasing construction costs doesn't allow really to build ground up. It just doesn't work. The market up there right now is about $1.85 a foot for rental rates. We're pro-forming $2.15 a foot. We're stretching that number up to $2.15. Without incentives, we need to be closer to $2.75 a foot. We just can't get there without the incentives. So the old phrase of if not but for, this would not have gone forward. Since we did the pro formas in this earlier, I was going to say earlier this year, but actually it was last year. Happy New Year, everybody. We're over budget about 5% right now. I mean, so we're trying to figure out how do we get there. We will get there, and we're going to put it up anyway. But without the incentives and the present value of what those are over the next 8 years, the project just doesn't work. So I don't want to take a huge amount of your time, but I am happy and unbelievably transparent to answer any questions you might have. I'm proud of what we're doing here development-wise, so please feel free to ask away.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the proposal. And I was looking at the new permanent payroll. Can you go over that a little bit, because that's very important at a time like this?
I agree with that. And if we were an office building, obviously it would bring a lot more payroll than a multifamily building. Multifamily doesn't require a lot of people. It's about 5 full-time people that we would have there, between a maintenance supervisor, property manager, another person in the office, another maintenance person, and probably 3 maintenance people and 2 full-time in the office. And that'll bounce around a little bit, but that's about the right numbers it would take to run approximately 200 units.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'll open it up. Vice President Driehaus.
Thank you. I just have one question for yourself and then a couple for Harry. So could you help us better understand what kind of housing is going in here, what income levels, what you're anticipating?
So the units that are in here will be efficiencies, 1s, and only a couple of 2-bedroom units. With the market rates, if I just use some round numbers, if you have a 1,200 square foot 2-bedroom unit, at $2 a foot, simple math, that's $2,400 a month. That gets pretty expensive. So you build smaller units, we're able to offset that by building very nice common areas that they can come down. They've got co-working space where they can come down and work, big lobby space where they can hang out. A great example would be our project in Madisonville, where you've got this congregating space where they're not stuck in their unit. We found that as a real problem during COVID. That's, the bigger units, people were just there. And then when they weren't in their unit, they're walking down the hallway, they're walking like this. So we really promote the social side of what's going on, and that means bring people together in that. So we build big common area amenities like that. By building smaller units, that I've got a 600 square foot efficiency or a 700 square foot 1-bedroom, well, now I'm in the $1,200 to $1,400 a month range. It's kind of crazy. I used to think, maybe I'm stating my age, that I used to think that was a lot for rent. Now in today's day and age, that's about right for those smaller 1-bedroom units in that $1,200 to $1,400 a month range. And that's really where we're targeting those to be.
Okay. Yeah, so it's market rate.
It is all market rate, yes.
Okay, great. And then I have a couple questions for Harry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Harry, as we look at the layout here of the large piece of property, and this is just a piece of that, what is happening with, if there is anything happening, with the rest of this property?
I believe the other office buildings are all still office users.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the only one.
This is the only one.
It's a different building, isn't it? The footprint is a little bit different than some of the other buildings.
Maybe I
Yeah,
can
sure thing.
probably address that a little bit better. And that is, it's a little different. The building right next to us where FIS WorldPay is, and they recently announced that they're bringing that headquarters back. As I don't know legally how they kind of separating out the company. And they're in a sister building. It's an exact mirror image of ours. The other buildings in there, there's a big data center right next to us. There's kind of a two triangular buildings that back up to each other that has mixed tenants in it. There's another one that's there's some little ones and some medium ones. Our building's about 200,000 feet, and as far as I know, none of the other ones are up. I've not heard anything about converting uses or outright vacancies in them.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a unique use in the context of the larger property.
And it is a little odd that when you would pull into an office.
Can you come over to the, I'm sorry, people are
I'm trying to
watching.
share the mic here with my friend Harry. When you pull into an office complex, you're thinking, wait a minute, is this where I'm living? And we want that real sense of arrival when you come back there. It's not a private drive. You're not driving through a parking lot. There's a nice loop street there, well maintained. But when you pull back there, and we've softened that whole sea of parking for our development, you're going to say, oh, this is where I live. We're cutting in little balconies on all those where the glass used to come all the way out to the front. We can recess those back in and create balconies for everybody so they have outdoor space. And it creates that texture of when you're driving around any town, you're like, oh, that's an apartment building or a condo, and that's an office building. You want somebody to be able to see that as they're pulling up.
Okay, thank you. And then just one further question related to the CRA. So what was, and maybe you said this in your presentation, I missed it, the previous use for this building, and how long has it been vacant?
It just recently became vacant, but go ahead, completely vacant.
The previous use was all office, and there was a bank in there. Citizens Bank was the last tenant there, and they just moved out in September. I think maybe the end of September. I don't know. I can get you an exact date.
Okay,
But
no, I was just curious.
yes, so the building was then completely vacant at that point,
Okay,
and they were roughly 20,000 feet of the 200,000.
okay.
There was nobody else left in the building.
And I'll just add that we're seeing this nationally, but also locally. When a lot of these office buildings are going vacant, they're staying vacant. They're not getting filled back up. That's partly because of hybrid work, and a lot of people are working at home. And we're trying to get, obviously, our employers to bring our employees back downtown so we can have those revenues and have the vibrancy. But what this project does and what other projects do when they convert it to residential, it at least brings back that vibrancy. It brings people back down to shop at the restaurants and things of that nature. And communities that have an income tax sometimes can charge, if someone's working from home, they should be paying an income tax from their home as well. So it's just another way to deal with a bad situation and take a vacant property and fill it up with something that is a vibrant use. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Dumas.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Harry, I have a couple questions for you. The project overview, the map, I noticed that the boundary lines extend into this white area. Is that just a parking lot, or is it another building, or what is that?
I think,
Sorry,
are you,
do you mind if I come up?
Sure. Right there, the red line goes over to that white area.
So that line, that red lined area, as you're looking at, so that's on your second page of the presentation. That white area is actually a parking garage
Okay.
shared between our building and the FIS WorldPay building next door. The lot line actually runs right down the middle of it.
Okay, okay.
So
Thank
that is,
you.
again, another great reuse of it because WorldPay will use that office, the parking more during the day, and the people renting apartments would use it more in the evening. So it's a great way to overlap the parking, although we have tons of parking. And had WorldPay's support of this change in use.
Okay, thank you for that. Just a couple comments. I see a lot of pluses to this development. The tax abatement of 50% for 8 years, I think, is very reasonable. And also the support of the Sims Township. We always want that to happen. And then you talked about the environmental impact, the positive environmental impact. So that's a great thing. So, that's all I have.
Thank you. So, Harry, where do we go from here? It looks like there's support. Do we get a resolution?
I believe Thursday you'll probably have it with a resolution. We've sent the packet down already, and so the administration has it, and I think they'll put it on the agenda for Thursday if you want them to.
Okay. Yes, I think we want it on the agenda for Thursday.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Now we have an executive session. I make a motion to go in executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 12122G4 to discuss collective bargaining.
Second, can I interrupt for one? The representative from Sims Township was here.
Oh.
And we didn't have her speak.
We did that. She's out the door.
Kim LaPensi.
I think she's pleased with the conversation.
Yeah,
She's
sorry,
slipping out the door.
I know, but she took the time to be down
Yeah.
here. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to ask if, just for your input, it's so important that the community supports this. Could you, very briefly, I'm sorry, I should have asked you before we just had that last motion.
Kim LaPensi, Sims Township Administrator. Yes, Sims Township is in full support of this application.
Very good, short and sweet. Okay, all right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think I seconded the motion. Yeah, sorry about that.
She's getting out of here before we change our
Yeah,
mind.
sorry, yeah, that's right.
Okay, yes, did you second the
I
motion?
did, yeah.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.